For the last couple of weeks, I have been trying my hardest to create and to record my podcast as I usually do. Right now, I'm up to episode 27, which is wonderful. But what I'm finding is that it has been extremely difficult to do. And especially during the climate that exists today, I have been absolutely trying my best to make it there. I've been trying my best to show up every week and record, but it has been so difficult. And mostly because I have been in a constant state of feeling triggered by a lot of the things that are going on today. I'm still thinking through it. I'm still hoping that I get the motivation to record and to bring you guys content, but it has been, again, very difficult. I say this because as someone who, growing up, I dealt with a lot of things as a result, a lot of trauma as a result of me being separated from my parents at a young age, which is currently happening to a lot of these children that are being separated from their families. I can't even begin to tell you how terrifying that sounds to me and how crazy it is to even think that we live in a world where people think this is okay, where people think that this is justifiable. Now, mind you, when I experienced that, I was given a choice. My parents, rather, were given a choice to decide how we wanted to manage the fact that for our family of four, only two of us were granted visas to come to the United States. And as you know, because everybody believes in the American dream, we couldn't pass up on the opportunity. So the hardest part was making the decision of how the logistics were going to work. The problem with that is that my parents, for whatever reason, decided to come to the United States first. And so, yes, I was separated from my parents because of the immigration policies. They decided to come first because they wanted to, get jobs and support themselves, get a home, etc., so that we could all live together eventually. When my little brother and eventually would come to the United States. The problem is that we were separated for a good amount of time, more than a year or so, and even having had the option to be taken by people who my mom and my dad trusted, that did not eliminate the fact that we ended up in a very vulnerable state to the point where we were mistreated, we were abused, we were tortured. And it's something that I cannot even begin to explain to people how that felt. But seeing how people are currently being held in these facilities and they're screaming for help, that's the triggering part for me. Because as a little girl, I remember me screaming for help and nobody came and nobody listened. And the only time that somebody listened, which is crazy, right? Like you start to, and this will sound weird, right? But you start to identify things based on what you hear. So I would hear steps. I would recognize when people were wearing shoes versus sneakers versus things. These are the little things that you start to notice that you probably wouldn't even think about when you're walking beside somebody or you're on the street. But those were the little cues that I would remember. But anyway, besides the point, what I'm saying is that there was one instance in which I screamed for help. I was 7, 8 years old. And I screamed for help. And I screamed so loud that I needed somebody to hear me. Somebody. There needed to be somebody that could give me hope. There had to be. There had to be somebody out there who could give me hope between all of those people who were just walking around and there was music and people just laughing and enjoying their life, not knowing that on the second floor was a freaking torture chamber, right? And so that one specific day, somebody did say something. They didn't know what was happening, right? But they said something and they screamed back and said, you know what, leave her alone. That's what they said. They said that in Spanish. And they said, leave her alone. What are you doing? Leave her alone. And because of that, they saved my life. They really don't realize, they have no clue. Just that one little reaction saved my life. And that's how I was able to escape from the situation that I was in and run to the balcony and literally just sit on this hot engulfing floor, cement floor, burning my thighs and holding onto the rails for dear life. Okay. Sitting there for hours waiting for somebody to get home and save me from the hell that I was living in. So that's what happened. And so when you start to hear these little kids or these people scream or asking for help, it's because something horrible is going on in there. It's because there are things happening in there that we have absolutely no clue about. And yes, you may think, oh, they're legal, they deserve what they get. Who told them to come here to the United States? Who told them to, whatever. But no, everybody deserves humanity. Everybody deserves to be looked at as worthy, as a human being. And I don't think that we're doing that right now. It is disheartening, which is why it's so difficult for me to sit here and talk about anything else, because it's just so traumatizing, so triggering to me that I cannot just sit here and tell you, you know what? Let's just talk about whatever I talk about every week. Let me just ignore what's happening out there. Let me just push it to the side. Let's just talk about whatever. I can't. Can I bring myself to do it? It's painful. It pains me to know that people are celebrating this. It pains me to know that there are people out there who don't care. It pains me to know that they are happy with people being treated that way. It is unfathomable to me. I don't know what to do. And so that's why it's been, I've been pacing back and forth. I've been writing my notes. I've been, making sure that my script or, my notes are good or whatever. It's hard. It's hard to ignore the injustice that is happening right now. It's hard. It's hard for me as a veteran because I know the sacrifices that were made, not only by me, but my other fellow veterans, by people who are serving today, who cannot do anything right now because, maybe they're out somewhere else. They're not being shown the things that are happening. It's hard. It's hard for the people who are working right now, who can't even voice their thoughts because at the end of the day, it's braver for them to remain silent than lose the power that they have right now at a risk of being shunned out and not having a say. I don't know how to explain it, but either way, besides the point, what I want you to understand is that it hasn't been easy and it's not easy and it's not getting better. And if you're a veteran right now listening to me, I want you to understand. If you're not understanding, I want you to understand the gravity of the situation. How we as veterans need to take notice of what is happening right now. Because it's not going to get better if we keep just putting our heads in the sand. Anyway, I'm just, I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I should take a break. I don't know if I should continue But, my goal is to continue doing this, of course, right? But the problem is that I don't wanna do it halfway. I don't like doing things halfway. I don't like doing things when I'm not feeling like I'm giving it my best because my head, my thoughts are somewhere else. All right. So that's what I wanted to tell you right now. What is the thing to do? What is the thing that we should do? I have thoughts, right? Like I have my opinions, but it's hard. It's hard to wake up every day knowing that, well, what's happening right now? What's happening in 10 minutes? What's happening in an hour? You don't know. But anyway, I digress. I hope that I can come to terms with getting on the mic and speaking and continue to give you my episodes because I love doing this. But it's hard. I just needed you to know that. It's hard. It's extremely hard. It has been extremely hard. And these are things that I don't talk about, but I feel them. I do feel them. There needs to be a better way. So right now I'm trying to figure it out. That's what I'm saying. Okay, gotta go. Bye.